Meeting to order at this time, 6:30 p.m.
Sorry, guys.
This will actually be our first attempt at live stream, so we're going to hopefully have this where it will be viewable on YouTube now. And so you will have to just search for it under City of Goshen, Arkansas, and it should come up. So, and I guess it'll live on YouTube. You can go back and review it.
It's YouTube is at Goshen, Arkansas.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll do our roll call.
Here.
Here.
Here. Troy.
Here.
Brother.
And I think at this time we would do our pledge of allegiance flag. We all stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag. All right. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda for approval? Okay.
Adam Walker, he said,
And if y'all don't mind adding the new business discussion of non-employee access at City Hall,
FE.
or G, BG.
Oh, here.
Is that during hours, after hours, all the above?
All the above stuff.
Brian, you're talking on that.
I will.
I'm just,
Put my name by it?
yeah,
Yeah, put my name down.
So at this time, we have approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve as amended.
second.
So we have a motion by Bert Wright and a second by, I think it was Max Boyd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. At this time, we have 2 minutes for public input. Do we have anybody that wants to come to the podium? There's a mic here at the podium. If anyone wants to come up, ask questions, have concerns or anything? Wow, okay. I always make that available. All right, so we'll move on to, I guess it's going to be the approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to, that's for November 14th, meeting as written.
Second. We have a motion by John Valencourt, a second by Colton Martin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so carried. The approval of the financial report. So as Shauna's not here tonight, so I'll just give you the basic financial report. We can talk a little bit more about the details under the budget. But as of November 30th, the general fund was $810,833.78. The street fund was $263,355.69, and the police Act 988 was $3,312.35. Questions? The CD report, Marge? You have the-
It's 988, 787.
Okay, so 988,757,
891.
891.
Hasn't changed since, last meeting.
It's quarterly.
Motion to approve the financial report.
Second.
We have a motion by Bert Wright and a second by John Valencourt. Any public comment? We vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. So reports, let's take the police report. All right, the month of November, we had 104 calls to service. 25 charges total, 4 criminal citations, 17 human violations.
We also had. Yeah, that's a question about it, so. Quite good. We had we received first calls. That was very part of it. Well, it was pretty hard.
What is a civil standby?
Still standby is, so, let's say, I don't know why. I'm going for 4 meetings.
A civil disturbance.
Basically, we'll go, the judge orders. They sign it. Bring us, we go, we basically stand by. We also need to.
Minutes were.
Pretty, 3 or 4 stars.
That's what I was wondering. If you call,
We still do them a lot of. Wait.
thank you guys.
So the shooting that happened outside of the city limits, right? We have anybody that,
Doug responded after that. So, yeah, the actual pursuit itself actually started. So the, you got people making the track. They had a stolen vehicle. So this vehicle matched the picture. So they can't get it, pulled him over. Private. That vehicle were on school. That's when students. This guy ended up going down Main Road. So,
The Leadville intervention. And then the state police will investigate this.
oh yeah, state police has already called him a good shoot out of this way.
And it wasn't in the vehicle, no.
Not what, it's completely different.
It's,
The, had he stopped, he probably would have been, inside. Anyway,
Thank you. All right, we move on to the street report. So for, I think it all is in it, the city park, continued general maintenance, mowing, weeding, trash pickup, drought fence, started preparing for the new entrance to the park on top of the fire yard. Fresh hog gas, parcel roads, replace, round sign poles with traditional poles. Some of the city street signs had put on round poles. The problem with that is was over time. So they put those and put in the ones that have the bold section. So, and then, said we built over the ice storage area. I actually talked to the contractors. They're actually having the lumber delivered tomorrow. So they're a little bit behind. They have it on so that we can get salt, so we'll be ready.
So that will be built with letters.
Yes, yeah. He said that we could call to have the salt delivered, after this week. It takes a week for it to get here. It'll be here within 2 weeks. So, and then change the night lights for the community building. So the other thing we realized is that the Ozarks Electric, the bulb that was up there shining on the parking lot was out. So we had to come replace that. It's a little bit brighter than I anticipated. That shined way out into yeah.
I think that violates our.
I think that's too. I was actually thinking that when I drove by, I was like, okay. And I talked to Dave when I had him call Ozarks Electric and said, our ordinance is 3,000 Kelvin. It's supposed to face downward. And then I drove by on my way home and was like, wow.
Yeah.
are those
Quite bright.
just new bulbs or is it a new fixture?
So I looked at it. It looks like Ozarks Electric put an entirely new LED, like
That's what I
thing
think.
on there.
What about the one here?
The what?
The one out here.
That one wasn't touched. So I don't think they touched this one. Here.
It's the same thing as this one.
But I think that one was already there. I can ask Dave and find out for sure, but
They both need to be adjusted because they.
well, I'm gonna have to call and find out what Ozarks Electric does to make that, comply with our, to be able to slow it down. They probably have like City Hall. Well, let me just tell you, City Hall was absolutely not in compliance with their lights. And when we read the lights at City Hall, we found that there was electric violation as well. So it was a few things. I do plan on talking to those electric, find out what we can do to get that to where it's not, I mean, it is bright, it shines way out.
Yeah, that was pretty well take care of Stargate.
Around here, it will, yeah, so. So, future projects, we actually will start on the bike wash rack and the rest of the concrete work tomorrow. They're gonna start forming that. The actual metal bracket is welded and in place back there. They'll install that when we do that. And then, there's gonna be an additional bench that will be installed. Lonnie Stroud, his wife, wanted an additional bench. She did. And that way there'll be 2 benches. So
that'll cover lanes.
Dwayne's and, yeah, we're having it's a 4 by 12 foot concrete addition at the end of the concrete on the other side, for the second bench. So there'll be 2 benches out there. So. And then, culverts in the back of the park should get installed. I don't know if we'll get those installed this month or not. A lot of it depends on the weather and my time. So I've got to get my tractor back out of the shop and then back over. I have some hydraulics put on it. And then, install a Spring Park Lane culvert. We were gonna do that, and we ended up putting 6 loads of gravel on Spring Park Lane. And we are looking at maybe not putting the culvert in that area, because if we surface it, it's right in front of, you know where Albert Styles driveway is? There's an old culvert that was there, but there's so many trees that have grown into that ditchway.
Yeah, I dug it out myself.
Yeah, you have to like get those trees and get in there, probably with a backhoe to get that. But I think that we're probably gonna surface that road next year. And so if we surface it, we won't have to have that culvert in there. So I'm thinking we just wait until, spring, and we'll probably be able to get by with it until then. All right, any questions on road department report that I can answer? All right. So we'll go on to the Goshen Fire District report. I'll pull it up and just read it to you guys. So it looks like there were a total of 47 incidents that they were called on. Building fires were 6, brush, another grass fire 2, medical assist, EMS crew 27, motor vehicle accidents with no injuries 3, dispatched and canceled en route 6, false alarm, false call 2, and smoke detector activation, no fire was 1. Any questions about it? And that is for November 6th. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are aware, there was a large structure fire where there was pretty much total loss on Watson Circle. Of a house started, and that was this week, and so that house is gone. But it was started from I think it was a hot water tank that ended up with oil that was bad. Caught it on fire.
There was one.
And that's the gentleman that played Santa for our Christmas, that was his house. So maybe we can look at some sort of something for him, soon.
They also have it on Goshen, this and that, and whatnot. Kelly has put out yesterday and asking, and she's got the sizes of the clothes. And
Okay, so look forward on the Facebook, Goshen's Facebook site. Maybe we can put a link on ours as well.
Absolutely.
All right, next we'll move on to the planning commission report, and Lacey's actually gonna give that for Tom.
The December meeting, the BZA met for a public hearing to amend ordinance 119, lifting the prohibition of gated communities. After the hearing presented arguments, the Board of Zoning voted against lifting the prohibition based on safety and the future connectivity plans for the city. The Board of Zoning Adjustment also started discussions to amend future ordinances, including the code regarding the number of copies turned in for review of plat plans, lot line adjustments, lot combinations, and minor subdivisions. The original number of copies asked for was 7 of the 24 by 48, 2 of the 11 by 17. We have plans to change that number to 3 of the 24 by 48 for review, and 1 of the 11 by 17s, and 1 digital copy. This will go before the board for a public hearing next month to change. The planning commission report, or planning commission, sorry, we reviewed and approved 2 lot line adjustments, one of them inside city limits and one of the planning area and 1 minor subdivision in the planning area.
So just a question on the Board of Zoning. What's the nexus between no gates and our future connectivity?
So based on like walking and bike trails and, even connectivity between like one neighborhood to another, like even driving. It was based on, a lot of it had to do with the fact that I guess Waterford, the developer for Waterford had an additional phase that was gonna go into Waterford. But the gated ordinance had already passed, the prohibition had already passed, and so that developer was like, no, we're not gonna do it. Because they didn't want one gate and one not gate, and then based on just like the traffic level, especially on 45, which is where a lot of our gated communities are. Just like the stopping of traffic, if the gate doesn't open correctly or if there's a malfunction, that's sort of like a safety issue.
What was the vote?
The vote was unanimous.
Unanimous, yeah.
Thank you.
There was also discussion, Bernadette and Carolyn were there, but have concerns about, is it Ritchie Farm? There was a minor subdivision approved next door to that. And there's concerns with citizens out there about continued noise issues and problems around that. They wanted you all to be aware of it, understanding that the city has no control over that. It's in the planning district, but it was asked that you all be made aware of that as well. So,
And I will plan to go to the formal court meetings with Bernadette and Carolyn at their discretion when they would like to go and discuss that if that becomes a concern.
Thank you, Brian.
Do we have other comments?
Yes, thank you. I was at the zoning meeting. I try to go to all the meetings. But also was brought up about the lack of a siren on our gate to Waterford. Now Lori had sent me a message that they had a activation put in years ago. But yet my understanding is whoever did the testing, somebody did the testing and Waterford's did not work.
Correct, so I've gotten,
That's what I heard at the meeting that I had.
I got with the Goshen Fire Department, all inspections of the gates will be completed by the end of the month. If Waterford in fact does have that Yelp receiver on it, the Goshen Fire Department will be able to see that. If it's there and it's not working, it'll have to be updated and you'll get a letter. Or your PO, the POA will get a letter, yes.
First to heaven.
I don't want to speak out of turn. I thought it did, but I don't know.
She didn't use the word reinforcements, but she says.
Any other questions about that planning commission or board of zoning adjustment report? So move on to the building inspection report, JD.
So you can't hear me, so, for last month, or the month of November, only did 19, inspections. Done a lot more than that this month. I can tell you, I think some of them took a good break there in the Thanksgiving holiday. They'll probably do it at the end of the month then too. There's a lot more this month starting than I did when I did last month. Yeah, what we do, we see 3 finals and then like 5, 6 labs. So we got a lot of new projects starting out. Question.
Thanks, JD. All right, we'll move on to the Parks and Recreation report.
Thank you all. So for our RDOT tap update on that, Kayla LeBeau submitted our LPA 004 form to the RDOT with traffic control about 90% plan, and that included also the bid alternate for the observation deck, so I'm observation deck on them. And this morning, he had not heard anything back from them, so we assume no news is good news in that regard. We've also received bids, this time for the bridge, that we can that creek. The first bid was by Pioneer, in around $39,000. The second bid was from Contech, that was just under 41,000. So, both those bids did include the transportation, the bridge itself, and the steel erection. Both bids did not include, the concrete decking, or the abutments. So ideally, at our next park meeting, we'll be able to review, and select those bids. It'll make a recommendation to you all, after the new year. That crack and toll contract, does include that amendment 2, which we would need to be signed to allow us to proceed forward with the rest of the contract. I believe that amendment 2 also includes an amendment for, borings, for the foundation, which Caleb recommended, from his engineering standpoint, and at crack and toll recommendation, that while they are not needed, they would be recommended. And it should be noted, the original estimations on our calculator, was coming about $90,000 for the bridge. That would be about $6,000 for the bridge itself, and about $30,000 for transport and install. So we're hopefully going to be able to come in under budget, with regards to the bridge. With regards to the Highlands Gravel Classic that was presented last month, Kyle McGurk has been in talks with, Bruce Dunn, just to review, event needs, kind of what to expect. He's hoping to meet with both Bruce and the mayor's office, to discuss the developing plans. At this point, it more or less is, just a project planning. At this point, we discussed how to provide meals for participants. And so at this point, we are looking to how to, partner with local vendors, and those kind of things, help raise the funds for that. So more hopefully should be, coming forward with that. And lastly, on the HUD assessment update, Ken fortunately has taken on that endeavor. Thank you again. With the help of Lacey, of course, he is, he's been with HUD official. They recommended, word documentation for soils, wetlands, and the endangered threatened species. So Ken was able to meet with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and they made a determination that the project would have no effect, and it was unlikely to have any adverse effect on 11 species that were known to occur in this area. So, and also the National Resources Conservation Service provided soil profiles for Mill Branch, and I think Ken has shared those with Mayor's office. So we're still awaiting review for the art. You got the historical site as well?
We got a positive determination.
Excellent.
No historic properties to be affected.
Okay, so at this point then, we'll be reviewing and hopefully putting forth for public comment. Other miscellaneous things, we did receive notification from the Corps of Engineers on our proposed idea for a walk bike trail along the White River connecting Lake Sequoia. The good and the bad news with that was that the Corps felt it would be so heavily used that a temporary surface would not be ideal, and they would need a more permanent structure, and thus it would endanger their protected areas there. So it's nice to know that the Corps believes that our walk and bike trails would be so heavily used, but at this point, we're going to continue to examine other areas, other avenues to connect Goshen to Fayetteville and the Greenway. And then, of course, we informally discussed the ability to add street crossing signs that would align with the walk bike plan. And more or less that was just next to the work discussion. That's all I have for updates. Any questions from you all?
I actually spoke with Orthodox Brewery, the guy that has been working with the grist mill stone. And so they're planning on retrieving that stone this week, possibly even if they don't get it this week, next week. So we have offered our services with the tractor because they'll need that once they get it out of there to move it around. So that hopefully will get done this week, if not, then next week. So
Do we have a place to take it here?
I'm not sure where they're taking it.
Yeah, we need to find that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can give him a call tomorrow and find out like what the plan is once they get it retrieved. But he was wanting to know if the city could help just to give the tractor to be able to help retrieve it. So But yeah, I'm not
Why did
sure
they
what the
give it to
storage
us?
area, huh?
Why did they give it to us?
Yeah, no, that's the plan. The Corps has given them the release of it to be able to give to the city, and I think that was the whole thing with the Historical Society as well. They wanted to gift it to the city. So we'll have to let you guys figure out like exactly what you want to, where you want to put it, what kind of plan you want to have as far as
City Hall
displaying
parking
it.
lots, finding out those. Permit spot for it.
We'll find somewhere. I also wanted to thank Ken for all of his diligent hard work over the last many years here with the Parks Commission since its inception. This is his last month on the commission, and he's going to stay around and help, I hope, with everything. But
Ken has overseen more than $1.3 million in grant funds coming to Goshen for development, installation, and advancement of our parks. So I think without him, I wouldn't have a clue, but I don't think we'd have any parks either. Everything you've done for us, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ken.
thank you, Ken.
One question?
Yeah.
Some time ago, we did a survey of the community on kind of some of the things that they would like to see.
Good foreshadowing.
I'm sorry.
Good foreshadowing.
Okay.
So the Parks Department is, I've been informing with Microsoft Forms to create a more extensive survey for not only the park needs for Goshen, but to individually break out for Mill Branch, needs, hopes, wants, and desires, as well as the community park, and in addition, adding in walk by connectivity as well. Hopefully, I will get that rolled out and we can right here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam.
Mayor, if I may, back to the gates, I'm told we have a fire key at Waterford, and it should have the capability for the siren. So, check.
We'll move on to the Arbor Board report. We
Other board purchased, planted, and mulched the largely cedar we did for Christmas, and the only to be watered is going about 2 weeks ago. However, it's past week, about 20 minutes. But it's a very expensive tree. We've been doing some more work at the park, on the church, cleaning out where the old barn was, working directly on that, this is still. We still have more work over there. The herpetology department completed their election site. Now, I know whenever I report to you guys about the herpetology, entomology, I work with the herpetology department as well. But whenever we get all these logs, what's in the park, when we have to do a report like the HUD. And this has been a great group to work with, and I'll bring the students back at some time to share what they can. I also have a team of them who work with John Beneke to help design for wildlife conservation center and give ideas on their young rising students who may become landscape architects looking at a journey for the education. Other things that are happening, of course, Betty's doing the Tree City report, which is a pain. And that will be done this month. The Arbor Board will meet this month and give a recommendation for the next Arbor Board coming up with the city of what we think. Betty and I have worked as officers in the Arbor Board and did a lot of this for the past 3 years, and we can't continue to be in charge, and we need more residents to step up and work to lead this. Because we both have some issues that we can't continue to let them have. So that's my report, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, Mary, you had questions about getting the McGinnis. His phone number has changed.
okay.
He texted me, I think yesterday or the day before with his new number. I'll give you his new number, yeah. I didn't know you were having trouble getting hold of him until today. So,
Because he's having severe health issues.
yeah, he's doing better. I've been checking him in. Health, he is feeling much better. All right, so we'll move on to Old City business, unless there's other questions. The Old City Business amending ordinance 194.
This ordinance came before you all last month. The wording of it limited receiving money only from payrock. And I believe this has now been amended to where the new language that will go into ordinance 194, which you'll see in section 2 here, allow the city to receive money from any entity that's processing fees owed to the city. And I think the idea was hopefully this doesn't need to be amended any further if the city contracts with any other entities to process fees. So that's why this is back.
So Roy, what's the delineation between shall not be made by cell phone or other electronic devices, but it can be by automatic direct deposit?
Honestly, I don't, that language is in there, was in there previously, Lacey's great.
Feel like But is that the way this?
Electronic devices kind of, that's worry me.
Yeah.
That's computer.
I actually brought up the same thing to her, so that was the answer that I got on it.
It seems like it contradicts itself. Yeah. And I understand Venmo and Cash App completely. I think that's the way everybody's going, but for city business, I understand that. But I think we're saying no electronic devices. How can we say automatic direct deposits? Okay. That's what that is. I mean, I get my check direct deposit that comes from a computer. Electronic device.
Or a
Valid point. In Kashana, it may be better for her to speak with the auditors and find out.
Exactly what we need.
I mean, the idea here is to appease the auditors.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, or a cell phone and a computer. I mean, you know,
That's what I'm saying.
1 terabyte, 1 terabyte. Oh,
Computer, iPad.
Sean and have her reach out to me fully, to make sure that everything and all the wordage is correct.
is there money being held by Payrock or whoever that is right now that we have not received because of this?
No,
No,
no, we're receiving. We just want to be in compliance with it.
Automate, open up to the.
Well, then tabling this one more month won't
No.
affect the city money.
I'll make a motion to table this till, the January meeting.
Okay.
And.
And I'll work with Kashana to find out what it needs to say.
Okay.
Is another call number.
Because of the way Patel wants to get into compliance and how she is to do so quickly, is there any way that we can make maybe a motion to approve this based on changing it to a fee municipally?
No, it has to come back.
Come back.
So we have a motion on the floor at this time to table this until the January meeting by John Valencourt. Do we have a second?
Specific for that line.
Yes.
Second.
The motion by John Valencourt, a second by Bert Wright. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So we'll move on to the 2024 budget and salary appendix. Have you guys had a chance to look at all of it? Yes. So I can pull it up individually. If you guys want to go through street fund, general fund, salary, which one do you want to go through first?
Well, you must have some.
General fund first.
Let's see. So this is the, Gary, we're going over the budget now. So,
Yeah, that's my question.
okay, let's ask it together so we can all get on the same page with it. So this is the 2024 budget that we're proposing. You guys take a look, and you guys should have had this at least since Saturday, the revised one, and we've been working on pretty much the same budget, for the last 3 months, bringing it back and revising it, making some changes based on your comments, based on some of the numbers. So are there any line items that are specific that need to be addressed? Paula, you have.
We were just trying to clarify because in the general fund, individual salary and liability appendix, for example, that includes Alan Barber for the recycling, but then that is a separate line item in the proposed budget. And then somehow, even if we include that, there's still like $1,400 difference between that. So that's what we're trying to figure out is the $1,400 difference between the payroll and benefits section.
Well, I think Alan does not have any payroll or benefits.
Well, that's,
He's-
well, let me explain it.
Yeah.
You go to page 5.
Are you talking on the general fund or salary and benefits?
If you go to the 2024 proposed budget.
Under general fund, just proposed budget,
Yeah.
page 5.
Yes, yeah, non-student, page 5.
Okay,
And the things that are actually what's in this budget as payroll, and items that involve directly payroll, that would be salaries, pay taxes, retirement, health and dental, not the continuing ed, because that's not a payroll function. There's no payroll taxes associated with that. And then overtime. Those items there will come to that 343,917. And so what Paul is referencing is that the stipend amount, he's not a payroll item, it's like 1,410. So it's not included on the budget, but you can see that addendum, so those two things are not gonna match, some payroll. So it's just differently reported on the addendum, but not included on the payroll or actual payroll in the budget. So it's all there, that addendum is just giving you a little bit more details. And it's just reflected in the budget, but it's just not in the same spot. Okay, so that's what's going.
because it doesn't come out of state.
Exactly, it's not a payroll. So that, and then if you look at page 7, it's gonna be the same thing. So page 7, that's police payroll. Things that actually, that's not payroll there, would be continuing education. Everything else is payroll in that payroll section. But if you look for continuing education in that addendum, it's not gonna be included there. So all the numbers do match, it's just not gonna be the same layout on the addendum that you've done yet. She tried to make that one more inclusive, but here, the total payroll with just payroll, we'll be able to say that, our total payroll with benefits for the entire year of 2024 is budgeted at $835,717. And that's with payroll, benefit, taxes, not stipends for the board members, not recycling, not reimbursements, not mal.
For the public, this is the document he's referring to, which is our general fund, this is the individual
Right.
salary and liability appendix, and this goes through everybody's salary, as well as all the taxes, retirement, and everything that comes out of all of those. So when we report those, even though we have payroll and benefits for police department, it goes into a police department section
Exactly.
on our budget. And then everybody else, which wasn't done this way before, but everybody else, with the exception of Alan, who's basically kind of a contracted
Correct.
person to just be there with the recycling, goes into the other administrative budget.
See 1099.
Yes. So that's what this is. And this is the individual breakdown for each employee.
Mhm.
So then on Barbara gets a 1099. So there's no taxes.
That's correct.
So this taxes in here come up.
Well, there's actually have to do with payroll, actual payroll, they don't comment, that's part of the payroll system, that's part of the payroll.
I understand, but he gets a 1099. So we don't,
He is not included in the payroll as far as what you consider payroll.
so in this appendix,
But he's included out of that section because it's just a more detailed, everybody pay.
I understand, but the tax showing here is not really there. We're not paying that tax.
There's no tax in here.
Right, but there's a.
But there's a line item showing taxes.
If we were, yeah, if
That's,
Showing us
so
pay.
then
Oh, Alan, I think the top, wasn't he included the payroll for a little bit?
He was. He stepped in and did some help with the infrastructure facilities department. In the interim, we didn't have another employee.
Right, but in this addendum that she did there, that is not included in the budget. That's not included. Exactly, that's not exist. So that addendum is not, it's not the budget, that's her explaining everything in detail. So he had taxes in 2022,
2023.
2023.
Yeah.
But he will not have taxes in 20.
That is all.
That's correct. You can mark those off.
Two general questions before we get into the weeds. Very good job. This is going to leaps and bounds last year. Thank everything. Under the revenue excess funds allocated for 2023, we had about $350,000, and proposed budget we have 100,000.
Are you talking about from what we had last year moving forward and this year moving forward? Yeah, we won't have 350,000.
So that's my question.
And the other thing was, that wasn't truly 350,000. So when we looked at that, rolling that revenue forward from last year, what was not included, because it wasn't in the budget, were all the accruals, all the things that were already spent that hadn't actually had a check cut, but that were already approved. So when we roll this 100,000 forward, it's actually probably going to be more than that, but that is unallocated funds.
That's my
Those
question.
are funds that are completely free and clear, that are just over and above anything that was already allocated. So, and that number will likely be more close to 150, 175, because if you look at, well, we haven't looked at the year-to-date budget, but our year-to-date budget, we're right now at about $220,000 under budget.
So that was my
Now-
question. And it appears that 100,000 is underrepresented.
It is, and I know that it's underrepresented, but I don't want to go above because we still have some significant projects still out there. We have,
It's free money.
That's right.
Bottom line.
Right. And so, and if we come in with, an additional, and that's why we will end up going back and finalizing and amending this after we go back and finalize our 2023 budget. Yeah. So I would like for us to get to the point to approve this so that I can start making plans for all the things that need to get done as far as contractors getting bids on things now, so that when January comes or February, that I can start getting the ball rolling, so that we're not waiting until April or May to get contractors on these projects that we have that are, or getting the ATV for us to have available for if there's really bad weather. So I would like to get that hopefully, purchased in our possession by the end of January, when February's snow or ice or whatever this year, that added utilization. Figure that. So,
Only other major question I have is, last month we rolled back the mill.
we did from 3 to 2.9.
So is that 2.9 reduction?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. But we also have accounted that, so the reason we're having to go back to 2.9 is because our real estate taxes are actually going to end up being greater than what they were last year. So I did account for that. I didn't account for the 10%. I only accounted for 8% increase, and only in those areas where it was directly for millage, not for any of the other sales tax, other, tax increase in revenue. So I was being very conservative, but yet I did account for it. Does that answer that question?
Yes.
Did the retirement rates change?
No, so one of the things with it, and I actually went over that with Shauna, because so lot fee requires that we take out a certain percentage, but then when we actually pay lot fee, it's oftentimes less than what is required for us to be taking out. Does that make sense? So
I didn't know what calculation.
yeah, so it's a percentage that you have to calculate by the state. And then at the end of the year, lot people say, okay, well, you paid this much, we're gonna give you this much back. And that's what happened this year, because I asked her the same question. I said, how did we end up not spending what you allocated for lot fee in 2023? She said, well, halfway through the year or around August, they'll kick back and say, well, you're only gonna have to contribute this much more. So I don't understand why they do that, but they require us to pull a certain percentage up front.
Just to keep it together.
Yeah. Jason may have.
Our side of it, their city side,
I'm sorry?
our side of it, raised in the city.
Okay. There you go.
Last question I have.
It looked like a significant increase. That's what, to us, that's why.
It,
Say, in total dollars.
Yes. as a percentage, it does look much greater. It's because we have to go with the actual numbers that we paid in 2023, although we are required to hold out a certain percentage in 2024. So,
Last question I have under expenses on the street fund.
legal and street.
It's probably a simple answer. Road resurfacing, under 60,000 budget for this year. Only got 80,000.
So this year we rolled over a bunch from last year. That was prior allocation. So we wouldn't have had that much, but there was basically a year and a half that there wasn't a lot of that money that got spent for resurfacing. And I can see that when you do a street project, it's difficult to resurface much for $80,000. So you may end up rolling that forward to the next year and just doing it all at once. So,
I guess the concern is,
and I anticipate we'll have some left over in the street fund, and we'll probably end up having about 130,000 allocated for resurfacing for next year.
so what's left over, we'll put toward resurfacing.
Yeah,
Because, you know, when we had some public here, I think we prioritized the streets with resurface this year. We did those, or
Yep.
they're doing those. There was still quite a list that needed to be done.
There are.
Obviously, 80,000.
No. Well, that's why I said Spring Park Lane is probably gonna get done next year, because I think we can probably surface that entire project for around 90, maybe a little more. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get that done next year. And then the only other streets that are no longer paved, we've got Nemo Lane that's not paved, we have Watson Circle that's not paved, and then we have a portion of Sharp that's not paved. And after we pave those, hopefully over the next 3-4 years, all of the streets will have pavement. There won't be any gravel that will be maintained. Because we really don't have the equipment to maintain gravel adequately. We have a tractor and a box blade, and it's not even, you can't ditch with it, you can't do a lot of stuff with it. And that's one of the other capital improvement projects that I think we're gonna have to look at is, purchasing either a Mini X or purchasing a skid steer in the next year or two. Because those things are very, necessary if you're gonna maintain streets. Because, I've had this talk with Judge Deakins about, well, when you surface them, then you gotta clean out the culverts, you gotta clean out the ditches, because they tend to, you can't get in there with heavy equipment to ditch it, then you have to clean them out. So.
We do have straight,
What?
straight them.
We do, yeah, the box blade tends to work better to get the gravel.
You can't clean out a ditch with that.
Well, you can't clean out a ditch with a tractor at all when you have to get in the ditch with it.
It's in the ditch.
Most of them. I mean, I tried when I was running that tractor, and even with the hydraulic, arm on there, it's hard to get in the ditch when it's muddy and try to scrape it out when your tires are in the ditch and you're sideways. So, I mean, if we had a grader, then you can do that, but it's hard to do that. So, any other questions? Yeah, Jason?
To answer Sean's question, Ricky wanted me to let you know that it's actually a premium tax credit, what they're calling
Okay.
Premium tax credit.
it. Yes. But a lot of people.
All I know is it came back to us, and I'm happy that it did, but we have to plan for next year's,
Charge this a follow. Carryover right now, it's like 56,000.
Thank you. Any other questions about budget items?
Well, I am gonna ask again about the four-wheel drive cab, et cetera, with the plow and air conditioning and heat and whatnot. Why do we really need it?
Well, there's multifactorial, for the street department. One thing is that you cannot access all of the park with our current vehicle, our truck, or even tractors. There's places you just can't get to with either of those. Not only that, but we don't have a way at this point, other than me volunteering my four-wheeler to pull a sprayer in the park to actually spray for invasive species of plants in the park. There's times that you may need to actually go out and actually patrol in the park, and,
Places I can't get my unit.
yeah, I mean, there's just places you can't get a vehicle. And so an ATV is the only thing you can get to certain areas of the park. Not only that, but in the wintertime, our big truck, and I don't know who's ever driven that in the ice and snow, an F-350 truck, even if it's four-wheel drive, you can't hardly keep it on the road when it's really icy. So an ATV that is all-wheel drive, much lower, area that is on the road, you can actually get in there and maneuver it much better to clear roads that are very difficult to get into with a big F-350 truck. Same thing with parking lots. So having a snowplow on an ATV that would be able to be utilized for the city, I think is beneficial. Not only that, but the police department to be able to patrol in the park or to be able to patrol in areas where we can't get a vehicle. I think that's why it's important.
I don't think Tim and Mary would be very happy.
Let me ask you, based on that,
Yeah,
okay? It was my understanding that, and I could have misunderstood wrong, or that if you purchase something for the city, for the streets.
this is not being purchased out of the street fund. It's being purchased out of the general fund. This is capital expenditures out of the general fund. It has no requirements for the street department. It may be utilized some for the street department, but it's going to be utilized for the parks department, it's going to be utilized for the police department, it's going to be utilized for the entire city. This is a city capital expenditure.
We still members of that federal surplus
We are.
program. I used to see things like that on there fairly regular. You still keep up with that?
I keep up with it, but the stuff that they've had lately has just been trash.
Yeah.
And they're not guaranteed to run when you buy it.
This would come with a warranty,
Yeah.
and I've got some specs from the one that they bought for the fire department. I think it was last year. And so they bought a Can-Am. I've looked at both Can-Am and I've looked at, Polaris, yeah.
So, voters yet?
The Kubotas are way more expensive. I've looked, but I don't think we can afford them. So, but those are two that are, I think, the best on the market right now for the price. Can-Am's probably gonna be able to beat Polaris in their price. So we may come in a little bit under budget on it, even with all the accessories, we may come in at about 35 to 38. I just don't want to underutilize the funds to be able to get what we need. So we're gonna have to add lights and even a siren probably for the police department. And then we're also gonna try to get the front plow for the snow and ice.
Bobcat?
So,
You guys check Bobcat? Bobcat.
I haven't seen a Bobcat. Well, I did see the Bobcat, but the Bobcat didn't have the double cab with the HVAC and heat and air. So. Other questions you guys have?
The nice thing about it too is we can utilize it for events, for the park, having something out here with kids.
In my opinion, it's in the budget. We're a growing city. It is unfortunately what it is. Capital expense and it will be used.
I just didn't, concern I had was, I know before when we were gonna buy something, if we bought it for the city, for the street, okay, we couldn't use it for park.
Yeah, this isn't a street.
If we bought it
street
for the
fund
parks, we couldn't use it for the city.
Yeah,
And that's what I was concerned as well.
If you buy it with money that's not the street fund, you can use it.
anywhere.
There's no restriction there. It's just if you spend street fund money.
Yeah. If this were coming out of the street fund budget, it would just be a street vehicle and we wouldn't be able to use it for all of the other things. But this is capital expenditure out of the general fund. So,
If we're gonna prioritize that over like the mini X.
yeah. I know, I looked at both those because I want mini X because I am concerned about our ditches and, but I think that that's something that we can definitely put in the budget for 2024, 2025, in the 2024 working of the budget. And that is my plan, is that we put that in the budget for the next big capital expenditure but the mini X, again.
Closer to probably 120 on it, so.
I looked at different ones. The cheapest is about 85 to 95, depending on the model and what attachments you get. And that's for a new mini X, yeah. And I have one that I can use for the city until we get one, so that's where I'm not as concerned about getting it right away.
When we do that, we should measure, like, we try to get brush and stuff out of the bridge there on Oxford. Rented one.
Yeah.
And we just want to be sure the reach is enough to get from bridges down to the bottom.
Yeah.
With a little bit of extension. So boom, like when it comes time, something.
Figure out the boom length.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you and you can make sure that, yeah. Yeah. And then I need to call, so and we use it. So. Other questions, concerns? All right. So I would like for the council to make a decision about at least a preliminary approval for us to be able to approve what we have right now for the 2024 budget.
I make a recommendation to approve the budget as presented.
Second. So we have a motion by Bertrand to approve the budget as presented and a second by Paula. Any public comment? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, anybody opposed? Okay, so carried.
I'll need to bring a resolution next month for you all to adopt.
Out of curiosity, too, if we're adding, commissioners and all that to be stipends, fine, yeah, we need a resolution for that as well.
I don't think so, because y'all are approving it through your budget.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it'll be covered in here.
so we will move on to, new business. I think the year-end bonus is Colton Martin.
Yeah, years past, we've done 2,000. And I think that might have been inflated some because of the money that we had coming in through COVID. Right. So this year I'd recommend, no less than $1,000 in bonus, but wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on what we should provide.
You're saying no less than 1,000, are you talking 1,000 for
Full-time,
full-time employees?
500 part-time.
I,
And elected officials,
Yeah, you'll need to clarify that.
Yeah, we need to
You're ready for that.
oh, no.
Yeah.
Mayor,
well, but again, elected officials aren't part or full-time listing, so we just need to designate full-time, part-time. and
well, what we did,
Elected officials.
I think last year we just,
last time what we did was, the mayor, the part-time employees received $500 pre-tax. And the full-timers got $1,000 pre-tax, which,
Gross it up, so it's
Yeah, free tax.
grossed up to the net.
They still get 1,000, just gross it out to where we still do the tax, but we gross it out.
That's right.
That's typical pre-tax.
well, that's how it works.
The free tax is like 401k.
So is that what you're saying? Oh,
I'd say that's the minimum.
huh?
I'd say that's the minimum. I'd entertain more.
What was it?
Okay. You're gonna make motion?
Well, for clarity again, please.
$1,000 in bonus for full-time staff, $500 for part-time. And then, 500 for recorder and mayor. Is that right, John?
That's what's here. That's what we've done in the past.
So how many part-times are there?
There's,
There's, Lacey and,
Lacey's the only part of the
what about the
That's true.
JD.
JD?
Our part-time, road person quit last week.
So you're back to one.
We are.
Oh, okay.
So that's it, yeah. We'll have to post that as well. And the other thing is that I was waiting to talk to the council, because I want to just go ahead and post for a full-time position after we get this approval instead of us. It's hard to get part-time help with, especially with streets and roads, because it's hard to get somebody that's qualified that wants to work 2 days a week.
That's what you have.
Okay,
No,
so
it's full-time. But,
Right.
yeah, so we have a question.
now there's no. We're talking about this, we're discussing right now. So,
Okay.
it's- So, are you in agreement? I'm in agreement with what you're saying. If you want to make a motion, what do you want me to make?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to, do a whole end of the year bonus, for the city hall employees, being the mayor, the recorder treasurer, the office manager. No, excuse me.
So,
Let me back
yeah,
up.
I think this motion needs to come from somebody other than John. I don't think I think it's a conflict of interest for John to make a motion where it involves his wife.
Yeah.
So,
I'll make a motion to provide $1,000 to full-time staff, 500 part-time, 500 to the mayor, 500 to the recorder.
So,
so we have a motion by Colton Martin, and second by Birch Wright. Public comment?
I'm just curious, why is it going down? Was there COVID funds or something?
Yes.
Are there funds there just to maintain that and keep it the way it is? The way it was? The 2,000, 1,000 versus 1,500?
Oh, from last year.
Yeah.
The last year was 2,000 and 1,000?
That was the COVID monies that we received that we had to use. And because they were working in through COVID, those 2 years, we gave them that money.
Okay.
I would like to see it continue that.
But I think his question was, are more funds still available to do that?
Yeah.
So like.
Point of order.
Well, this is public comment, John. And I will discuss if there's point of order. So public comment, Jerry, go ahead and finish.
I was basically saying his question was, is there funds available to maintain that? Not so much what we did because of COVID. And I'm just redirecting the question back to you.
So there are available funds,
Yes.
but I think that John's point was that the reason that they did the 2,000 and the 1,000 was to utilize some of the funds from the COVID relief.
We had to use that.
No, I don't think you had to use it. It was available for the council to use it for that purpose.
What's your opinion?
What is my opinion? I feel like that the employees I don't feel like I need a bonus at all, but I think the employees absolutely deserve as much as we can offer them or feel comfortable offering them. I've tried my best to get salaries to the point where, we are paying our staff adequately, but I do think that they go above and beyond for what is required,
And we're giving them a 6% raise.
Not everybody's getting a 6%. That's just, they're up to 6%. So it's a merit-based raise, so not everybody will get 6%.
So we still don't know what they're gonna get.
Well, that is correct. I mean, that is part of the HR department. Each supervisor does an evaluation and the employee gets the evaluation. And then that raise is based on their merit eval. So
But
a maximum of 6%
for anybody.
for anybody. That's correct.
So it doesn't become a pool.
No. So if Jason has all of his officers, let's say 2 of his officers get a 5% and 2 of his officers get a 4%, then that just goes back into our budget. It doesn't like go into a pool. It comes back to the general
The
fund.
general fund.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just that we want to be able to offer a merit-based evaluation and be able to give raises based on performance, not just everybody gets the same raise no matter what your performance is. And we think that's a more fair and adequate way to evaluate employees to, promote them to do a better job.
So just to, right up again.
Okay.
Then that to me says that
I would say point of order, Birch was speaking, so let's let him finish. John?
I think it's two distinct differences. We're talking about salary, which absolutely should be discretion of the supervisor. You have a pool of money, dole it out as necessary at 6%. With that said, we're increasing salary costs by about 10% overall. Last year, this coming year. So that's a 10% bump somewhere. Bonus is separate from that. That's a thank you for the job you've done. So I don't think we need to mix and match salary increases with proposed bonuses.
I agree.
Public input for bonuses, I agree that if we have the funds, please give them what we gave them last year. It's only fair. They all worked hard here, okay? And so you all need to consider that, if we have the money.
Do we have the money?
We got the money, huh?
All right, I'll amend my motion, to $2,000 and $1,000 for part-time. And mayor and for.
So we have a motion by Colton Martin. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Paula Anderson. So. All right, any other public comment before we vote?
Can I just get a clarification that I'm taking notes for Ricky here? The mayor and
Recorder treasurer,
also same 1,000.
1,000, yeah.
Thank you.
As well as part-time employees, and full-time employees would get 2,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Didn't we have a motion, not a second on the first thing? Wait, both, we need to vote on that.
On the
Before
first
we
one.
entertain this news.
That is correct. So there was a motion on the table. We had public discussion. We did not take a vote. So the motion on the table, the original motion was for 1,500. And.
We need to vote on that.
Yep. All right. That was the original motion. All those in favor?
No.
No.
No. Okay. Motion does not pass. And then we have the second motion from Colton Martin, seconded by Paula. We've asked for public input at this point. We're ready to vote. All right.
Just want to say thank you. I think it's a good choice.
All those in favor?
if you're wasted.
And any opposed? And I think, John, you abstained.
Yes.
Just a comment, I voted yes, but I think we need to be cognizant of what we're doing going forward. In the grand scheme, this is not big dollars. But as we continue to grow, which I think we're gonna talk about with some goals coming forward, we gotta build the kitty up, I think.
Yeah, I think next year I'd like to see a percent bonus as opposed to a flat amount.
That's totally up to you guys. I just tell you whether there's funds available. So, all right, so, we'll go on.
To Birch's point, right? Economic downturn, whatever the case may be, and revenue's not there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So we're very appreciative of all the work that everybody does, but keep in mind that it's just that, it's a bonus, right? So, just record, thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to the state of the city address. And this is my address to the city. So the year started off with significant turmoil, and over the course of the year improved. We started off understaffed with an office that was in chaos. City staff have rallied together, completely united, serving the citizens with dignity and respect. Our police force is now fully staffed and continuing training and certifications to protect the city in the best of their ability. We admire and we salute them for their efforts. The city office staff as a team have done a tremendous job of tackling any new hurdle that has been thrown their way. They continually surpass my expectations and perform at a level that is unrivaled by other cities of our size. This year, we started off with a confusing and disorganized budget. The city has had a lack of forward management with finances, leaving the city with excess funds not being utilized to the full extent. We've added $600,000 in CDs this year and provided the city with a complete asset and liability statement and proper fund accounting. Computer systems are now finally up to date. We also transitioned our building and planning to be online via added technologies and more efficient and reduce waste. The city has established control of its website, allowing our staff to make updates regularly. We have established a Facebook, and tonight we are having our first live stream of our city council meeting. We have utilized last year's excess capital to renovate the interior of City Hall, community building, with plans to renovate the exterior in 2024. The city has strived for full transparency and inclusion of all citizens. The budget, which has never been online, is now available for all to review. The website is continuing to undergo growth and development. However, all minutes and ordinances are up to date and posted. The Parks Commission has worked diligently to apply for state grant, as well as working to fulfill all current grant obligations. We were also able to purchase the additional 4.9 acre parcel to allow for better south side access to Mill Branch Park. The Planning Commission has begun to look at a way the Board of Zoning Adjustment could better fashion the city's zoning code for future growth and development. This has been due to the planning subcommittee established this year. This year, the city streets department has utilized over 1,200 tons of gravel to maintain city streets that had been left without gravel for several years. We also resurfaced 2 city streets that have been in need of resurfacing for several years. We also trimmed trees along many city streets that had not been maintained. The street department is currently working on clearing all city culverts to ensure proper drainage, especially with the rising of our flood zones. We have passed 12 ordinances, 34 resolutions, showing an inordinate amount of work that was accomplished this year. Even though this year started off rocky, through extreme determination and unsurpassed hard work, we are ending the year with tremendous accomplishments that will benefit the citizens of Goshen for many years to come. I would like to personally thank all of our city council, parks commissioners, planning commissioners for all of their hard work and dedication in the city of Goshen. I would also like to thank all of our citizens for being so involved in our city government. Thank you. Council goals. So I had sent out city council asking for some of their goals for the year. So a couple things. So I got to read these, and I love that there's been some great, input from everybody. So what I would like to do is I'd like to take this as kind of an interactive time for us to put some of these goals up on the wall. And I'm going to include some of the citizens in coming up with some of these goals. So I've got this big marker and this pad of paper here. So Bert, you've probably seen this done before. So Councilman Martin, he wants to finalize the purchase of Mill Branch Park, complete renovations to city buildings, increase amenities for citizens, bring sewer system to Goshen, improve access to White River, protect Goshen water sources, reduce payroll expenses to revenue, annexation, lighting and noise ordinances. Councilman Wright, greater tax base, expanded communications, future infrastructure and planning, future growth planning, fire department. Councilman Mayfield, annexation of private roads, business development. Some of these are kind of truncated a little bit, so sure won't read. Business development, designated commercial areas, park pathway composition, new city hall, community center, annual celebration festival. Councilman Valencourt, transparency of all city business with city council. The other one. I didn't hear from Max or Paula, I think, right?
Sorry, finally can't week.
That's why we're here doing some of this now. So some of the things I want to just make sure we have all these things right, which is kind of write them down. And I kind of want to just put like 1 or 2 words up there for us to kind of focus on. Take a bunch of these up on the wall. So, and we can go back. I think I read. So, and I don't know that some of these are gonna be done. I mean, they're gonna be done this year. So the purchase of Mill Branch Park, we're gonna get that done. So I think that's a no-brainer. We're gonna get that done. I think that the renovations to the city buildings, that's gonna get done.
Can we go back though, the final purchase of Mill Branch? Total dollar amount left for that purchase.
So we have right at $663,000, I think that we're gonna be for purchasing it, and then we're gonna have leftover.
$650.
Yeah, and then we've presented it before, but I don't really.
Well, that was why, because I can't remember.
The-
650 and leaves like 230.
I have written down last time, 650,000 for acquiring remaining 50 acres, 244,000 to site entrance.
Well, there's 53.1 acres, it's $12,000.
And it comes to right at 650,
So,
actually 647, something like that.
And our time frame. Because that's an important piece of it, though,
Yeah.
right?
Well, Adam gave you the latest on the environmental review. Completing the environmental review. It is written, it has to remain there. He is a certifying officer, he and I are signatories, releasing it. We will have to go out for about at least a 30-day commit period. So we're looking at early part of 2024, say all of January. Here you go. Sure, we had all of January for environmental review. You will respond to the environmental to those comments the second month of February, and then we will be able to. It's not. We will be able to request later than $80,000. We should have a check from HUD. First, let's just be more than optimistic, was more positive, I guess, is the first quarter of the year.
Yeah.
We will have funding by the first quarter of 2024 for the park. We've already done all the survey work ahead of time for the park, so we will be able to acquire the remaining part of Mill Branch Park by the second or third quarter of this year. But, would you agree?
I would agree. Yeah. I think that
That's being pretty realistic, I think.
But no other funds can apply.
No,
Then also, additionally, we will have funds to improve the Highway 45 entrance as well as to pave the existing parking area max that we worked on some years back. So we will be able to pave that as well as develop a new safer entrance into the park. Those are the three projects identified with the.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, I can list them on the sheet of paper, but I think those are, we're gonna finish those. That's gonna be this year. And then increasing amenities for citizens. I'm not exactly sure, but
It has to do with businesses. We need more amenities. I don't think we need more, I think we need business, but amenities to citizens.
like,
Pizza.
so you business.
Things that you got to go.
I'm just ready for your business. Pizza, so pizza, yeah. All right, I see super twice. All right, and then access to White River.
Have you been there when it's fishing back season? You can't get in. I don't know how we go about increasing access. And I think that, I know the court told you no, but I'd continue to push them. I think that having access and trail along the White River. What did they say? What was the reason why we couldn't do it? It would be too used.
Yeah, they're concerned that the usage would impact those preserved areas. and
But that's
doing-
specific to the bike path too, correct?
That would be specific to using, access on core land along the White River.
So that's kind of what I'm getting at, is we need to improve our access right now. It's, unless you live in Waterford, then most people don't, to go down to Quincy, you fight for a parking spot, and then you put a boat off, and it's not really anything else to do.
But even in Waterford, there's already.
So the other thing I have is protecting Goshen's water sources, reducing payroll expenses, revenue, and then annexation. And I'm gonna put annexation, there's two different things on annexation. You want annexation of more property, you want annexation really of the roads of the subdivisions, which we can talk about separately.
And that's really for constituents within.
Yeah, I understand. So, and then lighting and noise.
Yeah, lighting's a big one. Everybody moving out here, I think, I don't know, they've got a fear of the dark, and they wanna put 20 lights on the outside of their home.
Okay, so that's Colton. And then Sean, I'm gonna leave annexation, but I don't know what yours is talking about, and then we can, I'm actually gonna put streets, because streets, subdivision. You're not the only one. So, and then businesses. So we've already got that down as one. Park, so park, path, composition. And what Sean was talking about is what kind of composition do we need for the park pathway? Would it be better to use asphalt, concrete, which is the most cost effective, and what can we do the most with?
Well, from a usage standpoint, do the citizens feel like that would be an advantage? So that's.
Mayor, can I ask a question on that? Would that be within the park, or coming to the park?
Within the park.
I was,
And then new city
I will
hall.
say this. The cost of that, let's just think about that. The hard cost that we've been given, because we've looked into this, was over $1 million per mile to do concrete or asphalt for that matter. So I think that is one of the things we've got to think about here.
What's up?
$1 million per mile.
And then
Per mile.
so we annual celebration.
So along with that, something that was brought up through last year's meeting with citizens, especially because of some sort of associated. So, you get to think of some of the other things of that nature. Not that but that's one thing that's kind of unique to our city. That's one.
John wanted transparency, so put that up there. Kempton Wright, increased tax base.
Kind of goes back to
Yep. And there's other few things you can do to increase your tax base, but businesses is a key point. Yeah. So expanded communications.
I think we've done a great job recently with that, just getting the words out. But you don't know, right?
That is very true. Future infrastructure planning.
So I mean, that's everything from utilities to people to sewer.
So something that I probably should have shared with everybody is that I've actually been, so along that lines, so I met with the city planner, they're doing the planning on the Walton, build out for the whole Walton campus, the Walmart campus. They did some of the design work for Bentonville downtown, Rogers downtown. So, I met early in the year with them. I met with Fayetteville City Water to talk about water line, sewer line. I met with Garver. Caleb's wife actually came with Garver and we discussed what it would take to get us connected. The only way we can get connected on sewer is through the Nowland station. They will not let us dump any more wastewater into the White River. So unless we have a plan on how we're gonna get rid of our own wastewater, we can't even develop our own sewer treatment plant. So $26 million just to get from the other side of the bridges, which is your side, to the Nowland station. That's just there. That doesn't count because you gotta have a lift station and a pump station because the lowest point's over here on Blue Springs Road. And everything else has to get brought down from this side of Goshen, down over there, down over here, and then pumped out. So you're looking at about a $58 million project to get all of Goshen connected to sewer. I decided early on, it's just not feasible in this 5 years. 10 years after we get businesses, maybe. Pulling a bond, what I don't want to end up with is like we have with right now, West Fork and Elkins, where Fayetteville has come in and they've delivered sewer, but the cost to the residents is so exorbitant that it is causing residents a lot of stress just because of the amount that their sewer and water has gone up because of the cost of it. So I absolutely want to get sewer. I don't think we can afford it yet. I think we're gonna have to figure out something on the interim until we can get connected. Maybe even some substations like you guys have at Waterford where you've got kind of its own treatment plant for an area. And you may be able to do that if you're gonna have pockets of development. And one of the things I talked to the developers about was that Goshen doesn't really have one corridor that's just one space you can develop. So you've got the little downtown area, but there's not a lot to be able to grow in that area, not a lot of businesses. And so after meeting with them, I developed this subcommittee of the Plan Commission. And really that was to look at where can we develop, where can we rezone, where can we have these, what we call caveats of business development, and then connect them with bike paths to get them connected to the park, the downtown area. I've recently been working with Chuck. We're looking at getting a $500,000 grant to maybe do a mobile station for charging that would be a $500,000 federal grant, and then connecting a bike walk path between the businesses down here, Poncho's, Anderson's, and then maybe even connecting that over with that new area that's for sale. Lacey's talked to the people that have that up for sale, the business location behind there with those shops. So I've been looking at this. I've met with Sage Partners, which is part of Jimmy Hunt, Jonelle's group, with Tom to talk about his interest in maybe looking at developing here in Goshen. Totally wants to do it, totally on board with it, but needs to have some rezoning before he would be interested in trying to get people interested in bringing businesses out here and developing an area. So that's what Lacey's been working with this subcommittee to take back to the Board of Zoning Adjustment, to look at that, to bring to the city. So these are all things that maybe I should have told you guys I was doing all this all along, but that's what we've been doing this year, is working with all them. I've also been talking with Tom Terminella about some property that maybe could get developed and do some business growth as well there. So,
Never mind.
oh yeah, one part of this range. John has been also talking about what he's gonna maybe be able to do here in, our downtown area where he's got some property. He's one of the people that's been on this subcommittee that's kind of been there to go through where is there places to grow and how those things can bring revenue and businesses like a pizza place or something that all of us want, maybe a hair salon, maybe, any of those things that would bring growth and business to the citizens and give them what they would want. So.
Well, I know that we tried to get a pizza place and some other people to come down here. The problem that they're seeing is that they don't believe that they can get the return,
Well, there's two big problems. One is we don't have enough business zoned properties in Goshen. The second is we have very stringent rules and restrictions on our businesses on how much parking they have to have, what it's got. I mean, I'm not disagreeing that we need that, but I'm saying that it's very restrictive and it costs a lot of money, and they have to look at, is it worth the outlay and finances to bring that business here, and are they going to recoup their funds? And we've got to do a better job of devising those areas and getting those places set up in advance, is have them zoned for business and commercial use, so that when they do come in, that we attract them here, that maybe we bring more than one of them at a time, maybe a larger group that comes in and builds 3 or 4 things all at once, so they can share the expense in that, or they have a better recoupment of their investment. So it's all about dollars and cents, and if it doesn't make sense, you're not gonna get the dollars.
The other
So,
issue that we are going to continue to have is that our population density
correct,
is.
it's not as high,
Not as
but we have a population that's very wealthy. And we have a population that thinks they live in Fayetteville, because if they don't cross the bridge, they don't ever come to Goshen. So, and not to say that that's a bad thing, I'm just saying it's a reality. So we may have to look at developing things on both sides, not just thinking that the only place we can develop is down here. So,
The other day, I was talking to somebody in Goshen, and they asked me where the park was. And what, and I went like, well, we'd have to find shows, and then they said, where's the Christmas tree lighting? I said, "It's at the community center." Where's that? Well, do you know where City Hall is? No.
well, and that's where we are gonna do a better job, John, of getting our Facebook page up and going where people know where it's at. And then also making sure that it's already in, and then having the event. So that's the other thing is, if you looked at the budget, we didn't have anything really in the past in the PR. And we put a budget out there so that we can have some events. We want to have a 4th of July fireworks, where we can have people back here in this big lawn on, blankets, and they can watch a few. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but it's something to get the community together, like the Christmas tree lighting. Get the community together, bring people down here, let them see what we're about. And that will attract some of the people that normally may not be involved, but they may become more involved. I love that we have the farmer's market. I think that's brought a lot of people down here. It makes it more accessible for people to come down here and get to know, more people in the community.
I think we get anyone interested in doing the events committee.
Coordinate events. I'm totally open to anything, anything you guys want to put together. I support anything that's gonna help us.
You think about Van Buren and they have it laid out from the beginning of the year, what their events are downtown, if we can have something that we can mail out in spring that says, hey, here's our events coming up for the year in Goshen, here's where they're at, this is Goshen. Let everybody know.
Yeah, so Brian Crown wants to actually be annexed into Goshen. He's the one that runs the AMP. He's actually said, get me annexed and let's get some, venues and events here. And he'll bring them. So I think we need to, and it's really been on them. And I've talked to Dave Bryan recently, and they have to do a few things to jump through the hoops to be able to annex in. And Brian was helpful at getting, all of that information to them just to be able to get annexed. But, so those are things. Let's move on to fire department need. I totally agree with Birch. Jason and I talked about it this week. How do we do that? Because you've seen our budget. We can't afford a fire department. So how do we get that going? And, Elkins did this kind of combination thing, like I think we might be able to do in the near future, where we help to sponsor hiring part-time people to be more readily available in our city. It's not that they're going to be necessarily city employees, but we help to sponsor them through that Goshen, fire district, so that we have more people that are actually in the fire station more of the time. They are doing that on their own, but I think we might be able to facilitate that. Sorry?
Up at Chapel Hill.
No, here in Goshen. And up there. They have somebody up there now, but I'm saying we might end up at some point when we have enough revenue by businesses that we could sponsor having somebody that's in our fire station here in Goshen on a more, not full-time basis, but maybe on the times when they know they don't have volunteers available. And that's what they're doing at their other stations.
At the daytime.
Yeah. But I do think that's something we have to look at. So.
And they do have revenue.
They do get the revenue. But their revenue doesn't support staff, like, it support a full-time fire station. Jason, what was it you said as far as a cost?
That would be the guy to ask, right?
No, they would
tell you exactly what a fire costs.
I know what a fire truck costs. I'm talking about to actually staff a firehouse with, you know,
Well, about, depends what you're gonna pay them. Starting average firefighter is about 45,000. And then you put in lot fee, which you just talked about, put in insurance benefits, you're looking probably
$80,000 per
a
employee.
person.
Yeah.
And you gotta have, you know, you want at least 2, 3 is optimal per truck, per shift. You got 3 shifts, so there's 9 employees times
Times 80.
80,000 plus the chief supervisor, so
Yep.
you're,
You're looking at you're looking at, you know, to just get an apartment, and that's not including any of the equipment.
right. I mean, I'm the Elton Fire Chief, and we just started at night having people, our response starts dropping off about 10 o'clock. When the volunteers, you know, they gotta go to work tomorrow. The response to call starts dropping off at 2 o'clock, and then after midnight, the smaller the number on the clock, the smaller number of people you're gonna have. So we started staffing our station from 10 PM at night until 6 in the morning. That way, you know, they can go home, have dinner, go to the ball game, watch the kids play, put the kids to bed, and go to the fire station and work, you know, the night shift and still be off in time to go to the regular job the next day and get compensated for it.
So I'm gonna hold these up, and we're gonna put them on, you know, this side or that side. So can we accomplish it in 2024?
No.
Yeah, okay. It goes over here.
I mean, I don't know what, if the fire department down there has sleeping quarters or living, I don't know what,
They don't here.
No, not
they
here.
don't have sleeping quarters in here.
They do.
So Mayor, before you do, this is specifically what we hope to accomplish next year, not necessarily a strategic plan.
No, I mean, I think that short term, long term. So this is gonna be more long term. Short term things that we can hopefully accomplish this year, we're gonna on this side. So infrastructure planning.
Thank you. Yeah.
We can do that. I've already been working on it. I think we just have to continue it. I mean, it's gonna take a while, but expanded communication. Specifically what?
Well,
Being
I
able to
think
put stuff out to the citizens. Okay? I think it's over here. That's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
It's already been accomplished.
Increase our tax base. We do that this year?
Maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's in between.
We are increasing our tax base a little bit because our older company is part of that.
You've got quite a bit of building.
But we don't exactly what's going on. As far as tax base revenues, unless we annex somewhere this year, which I don't think we can do, we're not gonna increase it by a tremendous amount. Transparency. Now, I don't know specifically what John meant by transparency.
Being open and expanding, it's the same thing. And communication,
And
I think that's definitely point one.
yeah,
I mean, it's,
if there's anything that anybody feels like I'm not transparent about, please let me know. And I will make sure it's posted online, bring it up to meeting, talk about it. Annual celebration, I think we can do that. I think we started with Christmas, I think we keep going. So we talked today about Fest and then the 4th of July and Autumn Fest. Spring Fest and Autumn Fest, we can coordinate with the farmers market, so we have a city event, but we include that at the opening of the farmers market and the Autumn Fest when they close the month.
you can do an Easter egg hunt
Right, last year, yeah,
at the park.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
So new city hall center. Well, it's probably over here, right? We talked about that a little bit today as well. Ken and I talked about it. So at some point, we're gonna have to decide if we wanna hire somebody. I've talked to the architecture department of the university, to see if the students can maybe come up with a plan on how to get some drawings together. I don't know. I think it may be preemptive to be drawing stuff when we don't know what we really need. So a needs assessment, I think, you know, Albert and Lisa and I have talked about this as well. But that's not free. And I think that may be something we need to look into is, at what point we pull the trigger and say, we really want to pay somebody to do a needs assessment for us. and to get that out there so that we can then take it to apply for a grant or take it to know how much we're gonna need to spend to take.
As far as like the architecture department, you can give them a very, limited amount of information and tell them to just fly with it, just if we want to see stuff sticking on a wall. That's something that, again, and with architecture, again, it's designs, thoughts, futures, not necessarily this is what we actually absolutely plan.
So would you guys like that? Just have the students to draw that stuff and then we can bring it, so you guys take a look.
Again,
Personally, I think we need to outline and set those parameters and then.
I think John, that was I feel like it really helps the students.
Have some ideas.
Yeah, and a few of those items that we talked about, especially with that basement area, like shelter type area, right? And then the combination of what is gonna be needed with, both the police department as well as the office and community.
Well, my goal is to turn that whole
thing down there.
Yeah. And then we would, City Hall would kind of move into another area, and then the administrative office for officers over there, that would become their department essentially.
I mean, this is another thing that we need to consider putting into a committee for next year as far as, what does the city need for the future?
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing, you guys can, council members, you can go talk to the public and find out what they would like. People I talk to, they want a place where they can have a place to work out, what's that mean? So in terms of like a community center, I would try to incorporate all of it. So, but yeah, what I think, yeah.
Well, my thought, this is a very important idea. Something we all feel really needs future. My thoughts on this sort of thing is worth the money to spend, have someone come in, organize community. There's some kind of should, where you're putting your ideas together. I'm a little elected myself about having some kind of student-led deal. Too soon, I'm not sure that's going to get you very far. I'm expressing kind of a little bit of my background experience in developing centers and things. I just think it's worth the time and effort and money to have someone come in that can organize the board and the community and putting ideas, concepts together, and then from there, start thinking about designing that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point, but then I also know that we're all visual, right? And so part of trying to get the community motivated into thinking about what we want for our future may be, let's have some splashy, crazy design ideas for futuristic city halls or what have you. And
But I
if
would
nothing
think
else, get the juices going.
if all of the council members just go there and say, hey, what is it you guys would like to see as part of the city hall, city center, and then those are like, in fact, Shauna, just send those in. We all kind of glue them together and do them one this. Or path composition right now, or is that over here? That's kind of a your plan. You guys are still working on it. All right, street and subdivisions. Talking about.
Yeah, I think- Yeah, but I think part of that is the expansion of the tax base. I mean, that will provide the means to deal with consequences.
Yes, so I think this is one of those, it's kind of like, once we get this, then we can start working on it. I agree, and I think it's the same with annexation. So I know that my view on annexation is, I don't want to annex anything right now, it's not going to be beneficial to the city. So when I look at annexing something, I look at, is there a bridge? Is there a road that I have to maintain that I can't maintain? The dirt roads, don't want to annex. We don't have a way to maintain them. And it's gonna cost a lot of money to buy a grader. And then you gotta buy a grader operator. And then you gotta go in and you gotta reset, power lines.
But as a citizen as well, they're gonna come back and say, okay, if by annexing us in, What can you provide?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, the thing is, like, there's areas though that we could annex, that the police department already has to go up and they've got to go through an neighborhood, get to the Goshen area, up the top's already.
Yeah.
And there's all these $1 million homes. If we annex that area, they've got good growth, it just got resurfaced with high property values that would bring more police service to them. And it really wouldn't cost those citizens anything greater than what they're already paying.
If you annex Fern, I'm gonna need about 6 more officers.
Fern is a road off the ball, and there's in that area, I mean, that annexation, I think this is one of those that goes, you know, when we get better, more people. So, lighting and noise,
I'd like us to move it. I think that we need to begin talks on annexation, and I think that we need a committee to look at annexation. We've talked about it before. Committee brought some recommendations, didn't go anywhere. The reason was that, you know, Brian pretty much said, no go. Municipal League has sent out, in their guidelines for this next year, that they will support cities that are pursuing annexation. I think now's the time to do it. I think that the surrounding areas have grown. They've grown a lot.
I don't think we're gonna do it in 1 meeting.
I don't think it'll be a 1 year, but I think that we should begin.
That's what this is, we're beginning all this stuff.
How much it is?
In the middle.
In the window.
Yeah.
So I'm starting, but not yet.
Well, you can't get it done in a year, the tax-based streets of annexation.
Okay.
So lighting and noise, do we not already have a lighting and noise ordinance?
I think we do.
Yes.
Okay.
It needs to be enforced and it needs to be looked at. I think that, you know, if we want to protect our stars, we all enjoy that. We'll
Okay.
go out.
So one of the things I know JD and I have talked about is that he can go out and inspect and they're in compliance with their lighting ordinance. And then tomorrow he could go out there after he's already signed off on the building, you know, all the building certification they get, they comply with everything. Now they get their certificate of occupancy. And then the next day,
They bring lights around.
the lights are around, or they've changed the bulbs, or the bulbs that already have those 3 settings that can go from between 3, 4, and, you know, 5,000 Kelvin. Now they're up to 5,000 Kelvin, you got daylight. So, yeah, I think that absolutely we need to look at code enforcement, and Lacey is the person that's gonna be doing that. We've kind of held off on some of this because it's not so easy or fun when you start sending people out and telling people that their lights don't comply with our ordinances and that they need to, you know, turn them down, turn them off, get a different Kelvin.
So what's gotta be done?
I'm not saying it doesn't.
Being more tactful and approaching the beginning of the new year, I probably have a list of like 6 or 7 different violation notices that I could send out like January 1st.
Yeah.
We agreed after the driveway ordinance situation that we would let the rest of the year kind of like lay, but we've all talked about it. We've all talked about violation notices that are getting ready to go out. Noise is, okay, let's call the police department, they're being too loud. Lighting, oh wait, they just turned their lights out.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know,
that
the
problem-
lighting is a little bit
what's
trickier.
driving this for me is that you have a lot of growth in the area and everybody that's putting 20 lights on their home. That's not an exaggeration. They're putting 20 lights on their home. Personally, whenever I look out at night, I don't want to see somebody at the house with 20 lights on. I don't think anybody does. It's just a new thing. So I think that looking forward, if we continue to allow that to occur, you're not going to be able to see the kind of stars that we have today.
That could be
So-
something that we could look at as far as like a new building code.
No, it's part of the ordinance. So we have a lighting, we have a light.
Not with how many, I don't think we have anything that says how many lights you
It
can
doesn't
have.
count. It just, it has.
Right,
specifications
so,
about the color and how the lights come. If you'd like to change it, it has to go back to the
Board of Zoning
ordinance, the board of zoning adjustment, they're gonna change the code.
But that's
So
something
it's
that's
something that you can bring to them. It's something that you can have a committee work on. Yeah.
Well, it's a good ordinance.
It is.
The ordinance that we
And
have.
the difficulty in enforcing it is, Lacey's not gonna be working at night. You drive around, you know, everybody's lights are in compliance. It's also difficult to measure the Kelvin. So, and a lot of the lights, I mean, JD can tell you, they got adjustment where you can slide it to 3,000 Kelvin and slide it right back to 5,000. I know. So,
But then at the same time, especially with the lighting ordinance, I can make a phone call, I can send a violation notice, or, you know, if, hey, you've had like 5 citizens complain about your lighting. Prove it, you know what I mean? Come out, look at my,
We've got an ordinance.
but come out, look at my house. JD is inspected, I've gone out, okay, look, your lights they all shine down. Okay, you got a 30-watt bulb in. They change
I'm
after.
gonna task Colton to take this to a committee, and you guys can look at the ordinance and decide on if there need to be changes to the ordinance. And then you can bring that to the Board of Zoning Adjustment and then the Planning Commission, and then we can bring it back to the council. And then the interim, we will attempt to try to, you know, we are gonna start looking at violations of ordinances and doing notices. That's the unpleasant thing that we're gonna have to do that nobody's really done. We've never had a code enforcement official that's actually gone out and enforced code. So, yep.
Have we put stuff on the website to really start informing people? This is an issue. We have maybe we need more communication about it. And if you don't fix it, you are going to be cited.
Yeah, and communication about.
Profit. We can tell how many hits we get on our city website.
Is that one more time, I'm sorry.
How many hits we get on the website.
No.
Because I don't know that it gets used as much as we would think.
Yeah, our website, I don't think it gets that.
I don't think
it's that
it-
often. But it's just like, yeah. We are gonna have,
A home in Goshen uses that website, they have to in order to get a permit.
they do, but as far as citizens going there regularly, I don't think that's visited regularly. One of the things, I think Cheryl Lima was talking about our ordinances and how hard they are. One of the things that's in the budget for 2024, which if the citizens didn't see that, is that we are going to Unicode, which Unicode is expensive, but then it puts all of our ordinances in one code. Type in what you're looking for, everything comes up. And so you're not digging through 230 ordinances. Type in what you want, you look, you search it. Brian probably testified to this just to you when you go in and like type something in, it brings it up and you can find it a lot easier. So that should make things better for 2024. So that's in the budget. We are gonna go that way, and that'll show up on our website. So it won't be a whole list of ordinances anymore. You'll go to the little site, you type in what you're looking for, and then all the city code will come up, all the ordinances.
So is there appetite for that among this council? If I go out and we look at, protecting night skies, is that something that we'd be interested in? Yeah.
I think that's why we have the ordinance in the first place. We've had a number of years working on that. Lisa Skiles, big proponent of it, a lot of research. But yes, certainly I think it's important.
All right, that's your cause, Serge. All right, another one of Colton's, reduce payroll to revenue. I'm not exactly sure, what I'm interpreting is that you would like us to have payroll be a less percentage of our total revenue as a city.
Right.
And I would say that it's difficult to do that as municipalities grow, you typically have to grow your personnel. And so personnel is generally the most expensive part of any organization. Birch?
Labor.
Okay.
Yeah, but as a percentage of what we're bringing in, I think that needs to go up now. It's all about the services. I've seen over the years that we've been on the county, everyone's been. Go up. By more than I would have anticipated. And I think that we just need to, moving forward, think about that. Because we can't be going up into this, where we at now, as a percentage of revenue, say about 50. You're right, at about 50. Yeah. And actually, to be honest with you.
That's pretty low.
You were, first looked at, 23, you were actually 63. Actually, revenue had gone up to actually bring that percentage down. So, I mean.
But much like a nonprofit, you have an organization that you look at as a benefit of providing versus the expense and setting common goals, I think.
So I would say that we've already, by I think there's several things we've done this year to decrease our revenue payroll expenses. We've looked at, is it more beneficial to be full-time or part-time for employees? We have consolidated jobs and, into one person, one employee. So we've got the zoning official, we've got someone who's gonna be doing all the planning and building. We have an office manager who's doing all the finance. He's also doing all the HR. He's doing all of the, basically coordinating every city. And Lacey's now taking on the role of code enforcement. So I think that we are trying to consolidate all those things. Same thing with the police department, with fully staffed. We're not gonna have as much overtime. Much of the overtime they're gonna have is gonna be paid for by the state out of the STEP program. So I would say that we've already reduced a lot of that just within just looking at how do we trim the fat, so to speak.
Well, you give it to the administrative attorney too, we have all of those people wearing so many different hats and doing all those jobs. And you either gotta compensate or you hire more people, just like traditional police officer, that was a direct necessary expense. And so, like I said, revenue has increased to bring that percentage down, but we're staying that way to get the minimum rate.
That's part of it, and I need to fix revenue.
That's exactly right. That's exactly, it's not so much reducing payroll, it's about.
No, and that's exactly what that is, as a percentage.
Oh, yes, you know, so that percentage.
I'm gonna put it in the middle, because I think it's something as we start building infrastructure and building our revenue, I think we can look at that and continue to look at it to make sure we're maintaining that at a percentage that is healthy for our city.
Well, I think you could have paid
Exactly.
the balance.
Yeah.
Do the like enforcement, lighting, you gotta pay some of that.
Right.
And I think it's certainly something that can be looked at, if that's 10-year goal, I think we look at it this year, the next year.
Yeah, I think we can definitely look at the percentages and calculate those.
And it's down from when it was to 63.
16.
It's different.
So-
It was 60 to 163.
So here we are with protecting the water source. So you guys, I don't know if you guys are all aware that I'm on the board for the Beaver Watershed Alliance, and they have meetings that are every quarter at least. So they have lots of resources to be able to say how that they're moving forward to protect our water and our streams. So if you want to become more involved in that.
And 20 years, 30 years on the river, it's become dirtier. I mean, year after year after year, it's just dirtier. And so I think as a city, the waters that are in our boundaries, we need to look at. What can we do to make them cleaner? We need to clean it up.
I think a lot of that too, Colin, has to do with the weather this past year and before with the very low waters and then the storms and then the rush of water. And that takes the water.
Is this a 2024 or is this a long? So, but as far as, I think this, getting it accomplished, I don't think we're gonna accomplish it this year. I think we need to. So as yeah.
And for the Laker district, it's these different real critical things. Yeah.
Access to White River. You're gonna put that way over here. So, well, I don't know how we're gonna increase.
Well, I think you've got to
access.
start. You're talking with the Corps of Engineers. I think that you just need to continue those conversations. And I think as a city, we need to say that that's something that we want to see. It's something.
I would say, John.
Marketing, yeah, you can't have your past event with any.
I think the problem you're gonna have with the Corps though is they're not loosening restrictions, they're getting strict.
I will say.
Push them to do anything. I don't think they're reality.
They know that you can't push them to do anything.
Well, I think so that you need to. There's pathways that exist along the river throughout cities. Why can't that be done here?
Well, one thing that I think could be done is work with the Game Fish Commission. to improve access to the access that we have at the Twin Bridges. And make sure that they understand that that's a real important resource and issue for us in our community.
I mean, and they might consider it the foot traffic that goes through there. They're not taking a single path. They're just weeding through.
Exactly, they just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Both sides.
But that's part of the problem too, is
It is.
they consider that
Yes.
system, the trails that they're cutting through there, just for people walking through. That's part of the problem.
Well, we've been generally, we've not placed the access issue on White River in any, as part of our overall concern here in Goshen. We've identified it in our walk bike plan.
Yeah.
We would like to have access from downtown Goshen, safe access, bicycle, pedestrian access to the bridges. But I think it's an issue that letting Game and Fish Commission know that that is an important resource for the community. And that we would like to work with them and figure out how we can expand the opportunity and use there. That's a positive thing you can do in the short run, I believe, if you want to.
But I don't think it's gonna get done this year. I mean, as far as that accessing, that increased access.
Yeah.
Sewer, definitely not gonna get done in 2024.
No, but part of that conversation could be with other development, large scale development. What can we do to potentially duplicate what Waterford's done?
Well, we have that there, and also the Knolls has one, with a lot of them on septic systems, but then it wouldn't hurt, so they had to put in a system.
There's some that are, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So increased businesses, I think we can do it. I think we can get businesses here this year. Yeah?
That sounds.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get them.
And I think of mine, I wrote increased business with they need to do it responsibly. We didn't move out here for pizza. I'm going to keep that money.
All right, citizens, you guys have anything that we need to add on here that are important? It's not up here.
Well, I mean, the big thing for us this year will be, we have a grant yet to be determined. We have a request in. If that comes through, we've got an opportunity to build a heck of a recreation facility right here at the community center. Expanding the playground that we have and adding ball courts. So that's a big deal.
It is.
That would generate a lot of interest on a lot of folks. And
The grant. Yeah.
We've already got
grant.
yeah, if that comes through, we can do that. We can get that started in 2024.
So. Grant, the playground, hopefully we get it. Hopefully we get the.
John's going to check.
That's very good. Thank you. Anything else? Guys? All right. So everybody sees all this. I'm gonna take pictures of it. We're gonna circle back and kind of, in the future, talk more about, are we working on these things? How are we working on it? And what we need to do to I'm sorry, did you want to YouTube live stream? Just live stream, see it. We'll put the thumb up. But yeah. All right. Did anybody have any other questions about that? Sorry, I know that took a little bit of time, but I wanted to get some of those things out there so that we could all kind of be on the same page as to what direction we want to head for 2024. And then under item D, appointment of Parks Commissioner. So with Ken and his term expiring, I would like to nominate Mike Nemo. We don't have a resolution. Mike Nemo is here tonight. He's been a citizen I've known for over 30 years. Been here in Goshen, been very active in helping volunteering in Goshen, helped clean up residents recently, along with John Cover here in Goshen. Very interested in parks. He can be a great asset. He's going to be retiring next year as well. So that'll be more time to help with the parks. So
Just a question, if I may, Mayor. So Ken, are you term limited and have no desire or continue?
Correct. After this month, I've had 4 years being chair. So time to move on, do something different.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
I plan to retain Ken as Mr. Cabinet.
You want to retain? Take a seat in this. Spouse here. Involved.
So the plan would be that, it's present tonight and we bring a resolution next in January.
Like you're going ahead.
You bring in another
Hey, Brant.
It'll do my best.
So he would be on the Parks, he would be the new appointment Parks Commission. And what retiring from Parks and what about the Adam is gonna be, well, I didn't know, I had to look it up, Brian and I looked it up. I'll have to appoint Adam in January. We've already discussed this, so Adam can take over as chairman of the Parks Commission. And then you guys amongst yourselves will need to decide if it's 7 years, so I can appoint him. And get that to me so we can have it on the January agenda.
Yes, that answers.
That answers the question, yeah. So,
I just didn't know where you.
and just so everybody, for full clarity, Ken and I had a discussion earlier in the year. I gave an option to continue on for another year after, which would have been the full 2-year additional term. And Ken said that he would finish out this year and then help Adam take over as chairman. So Ken's not gonna be gone, it's just transitioning.
Well,
Adam.
working on the,
Yes,
it takes a lot of time.
and we
50
totally
hours a week.
appreciate all of that work.
We could groovy and so.
How many years for? And thank you, Adam, for stepping up to step into the park commission.
Of course, I love what we do.
We do. Not tonight, we're gonna bring a resolution in January. I just wanted you guys to know that I was planning on bringing Mike forward as the replacement there to put him on the Parks Commission. All right, so move on to the animal shelter discussion. Lacey.
If you guys take a look at the contract that's between the city of Goshen and the animal shelter, I've called the animal shelter absolutely nothing, on their end or as far as their contract is going to change. The wording. When an animal is surrendered, if the owner claims that animal, in the contract, it says that the owner is supposed to pay that $150 fee. We had one issue this year, where we honestly weren't sure when we were kind of put on the spot. And so because the owner was there to pick up the animal, Shauna was just like, no, don't worry about it, we'll go ahead, we'll pay it. And so we looked further into it. This coming up year, we would like to take a look more at what a stray dog or a stray animal is versus what a surrendered animal is. When somebody sees a stray animal on the side of the road, they pick it up, they take it home, and they're like, oh, I have a dog, and they're super excited about it. They take it in, they try to, rehabilitate, they try to feed it, and they try to make it a pet, and then it doesn't work out. When somebody does that, they've kind of taken responsibility for that animal. It's no longer a stray, it's a surrender. If somebody has an animal that says, hey, I've tried getting rid of my huge bull mastiff, and it's a horse and I can't get rid of it, so I need to surrender it. They come to the city of Goshen and they get a letter. And anytime that an animal is surrendered like that, the city of Goshen is responsible for that $150 fee. Again, this is going to be a case by case scenario. It's making just the best judgment call on what the city thinks is, and when I say city, me and Kashana, because we're typically the ones that take the phone calls, what a stray is versus what a surrender is. And that's kind of like where we need your approval, because really right now it's only if an owner claims their dog at the pound after it's been surrendered by or given up by somebody else.
I read this, I was under the impression, which was different than what I understood prior, but I understood that if somebody takes a stray dog, brings it there, that they were responsible.
No, the city pays, if it's a stray dog, because we don't have an animal control right now. If it's a stray dog, then the city is responsible for it. If it is an animal that is unobtainable, if like a citizen can't catch it, if it's causing havoc or menace, sometimes animal control will come out, Washington County will. But a lot of times, if it's an aggressive dog, it's our responsibility, and or Jason over here has to put that animal down. Which would happen anyway, it just happens a lot cheaper and quicker if our police officers do it. But no, it's, if somebody has a mama cat and they choose not to get their cat spayed, and this cat goes out or gets out and then gets pregnant, has 5 little kittens, which are so cute, and then says, whoa, I can't take care of these 5 kittens. Here's 5 kittens, I'm keeping mama cat.
And then
No.
each.
So we're on the hook for $750.
Yes, exactly. Or if somebody says, oh, there's a stray cat and it's had it for, 5 months and I feed it and it stuck around and now it has kittens outside my shed. Oh, well, because it had kittens, I finally caught mama cat. Well, you've been feeding it for 7 months.
Just to clarify, what we're looking to do, we're looking to say, we're not gonna, in the future, when we redo this agreement, essentially, we want to make sure that we are taking those animals that are being surrendered and having the owner pay a portion of that.
No, so the agreement will not change. This, I've talked to the animal shelter. This agreement, what you see in front of you, cannot change per what the animal shelter states. What would happen is that on a case-by-case determination, we're asking that you give Kashana and I the benefit of the doubt to make the decision on whether or not the animal is a stray or a surrender. If the animal is a surrender, they have to still come to City Hall to get the letter, but they have to pay the fee up front, and they take a receipt that says, hey, I paid for this. That way, Goshen still pays the animal shelter for it, but it's just an exchange of hands instead of Goshen actually being out the money.
So you're saying, yeah. So the resident would pay for it if they chose to do that. Otherwise, they just let it out the door and it's our responsibility.
Correct.
Correct.
So is this animal, this is what we've always used, right? Yeah. Just sitting on the name list.
It's
So this, how much do we get? $150 per animal. And it says payable monthly. Is that a one-time $150 fee or they charge us $150 a month?
No, it's a one-time fee.
One-time
It's a
fee.
one-time fee, but we pay, if we have 10 animals that come in,
every,
mhm.
whether it's.
Down below there, it says $40 per day.
Correct, we have,
Specifying one-time fee, but it is, so it's not $150.
and we've never paid the rabies quarantine fee, like, we've never had to do that.
I think that's actually part of the 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rabies quarantine fee is $150.
As long as I was signing checks, the only ones I saw were $150. I never saw $40.
What's that, the rabies one?
Yeah. How many times did we do this last year? Yeah. Ballpark,
Oh, 25 at least.
25, 150.
Yeah.
Well, we have $3,000 in the budget.
I mean.
Yeah.
It may not, 20.
I think it's roughly $2,000 this year.
I don't believe.
I think it's been around that most of the year.
Most years,
Go
we put 3,000.
The only one that usually brings much down.
I'm okay with you.
One more question I have too. The stipulation here is if the owner fails to reclaim it, then that after 3 days, then that responsibility comes to us as a city. That's the, we said, I don't think we can change the agreement.
Need the agreement.
I understand that, but for clarification, what it states here is if owner gives the animal to the shelter. And then after 3 days, if they don't take it back, then that fee becomes our responsibility, although the owner's the one that took it.
Because of process, and I'm not sure about that, but we've talked with the animal shelter, they will not accept an animal unless they have a letter from the city of Goshen. And now we, as the city of Goshen, if they don't pay us, we're not giving them a letter.
So it circumvents that.
Yeah.
And we do give those letters. That's been one.
Oh, they have to get a letter.
So that's the answer. That's the request is you, two of you to have authority to give a letter. And you just turn it.
Correct, it's more or less we're asking for you guys to give us the benefit of the doubt to make that decision. It's not always easy and it is on a case by case basis. But we've had many people call and said, hey, I tried to make this puppy mine and now it doesn't get along with my other dogs. Well,
Now, I can tell you that the county's outlook on that is if you feed that animal, it's yours.
It's
If
yours.
you
Even one time, you feed that animal, it's yours.
And you give them food.
So we have a motion, if there's a stray, nobody pays?
Yeah,
We pay. If there's a stray, we pay.
it would be,
So call chief. Call the town.
So in the past, when I first started out here, we didn't even have a letters.
No,
They were just taking them up there and the city was paying. And that was the problem was we weren't sure if everybody that went up there was a citizen of Goshen. Yeah, that's where the letters
So
started.
without the letter, they can't do that. Or if they do that, it's their responsibility.
Correct.
if you don't pick up the stray and you end up calling, you're like, hey, there's a stray running around. Then what does the stray look like? Okay, go ahead and, pick it up, come get a letter and then take it in. Instead of, let's take it home and let's try to.
And for clarification, we do not put animals in our facility.
Will the county animal control
No,
people that come out here?
no. No, we're
just in the.
a city. If it's something really bad, if there's something really bad, a lot of times we can call and ask for a favor and they'll come out. But typically it's just for vicious.
I was gonna say, you still get the dog.
You can say that hasn't been.
We need a motion to accept it. So.
Right, second by. Accept the revised contract.
Is it?
No, it can't be revived. No, it can't be revised. The contract can't be
I
touched.
say provided, I said,
Yeah.
accept this contract.
I just have one question. If somebody picks up a stray and it's taken in, you get the letter, you take it in, and the dog is, say it's a dog or a cat or whatever, is chipped, and they can identify the owner, what happens then?
If the owner decides to pick up the animal, the owner then has to pay the animal shelter for that animal. And animal shelter calls us and says, hey, the owner came and picked up this animal. And it won't be on your invoice.
Within 3 days.
So you've
Within
already
3
paid
days.
that, okay.
And no, within 3 days,
Gotta
that's
be
why
within 3 days.
it's paid, it's paid at a monthly or like on a monthly basis. So we're like a month behind.
It's not invoiced for those dogs or cats or whatever that are chipped that are claimed within 3 days.
Correct. But again, if the owner doesn't pick up that animal within 3 days, the city is still responsible. And then it would be a matter of the city charging a reimbursement fee.
So, any other public comment before we vote? Ron, what was that question you had?
You can figure out what y'all are voting.
Right.
The contract, as I read it, expired.
we just want to give them permission. Okay, we have to do.
This contract terminates December 31st. There is not a contract in place after December 31st.
My motion was to accept the contract.
If we do on these things.
They give them the discretion.
That's where I was at.
And it gives them the discretion.
So in order for the mayor to execute a new contract, you are going to need to pass a resolution.
will. And take a resolution is.
Yeah, but I think the authority is surmised.
That's a separate issue.
City official.
What they're wanting is separate from the contract.
But I think the contract speaks to city official, and I think we're saying that those delays are those city officials. Going out.
Do we need a motion, Amy? We're thinking if she can.
No, no.
So, yeah, you're good to use your.
Yes, we did. Get the dog out of there.
I've never seen this before.
To approve.
Okay.
Yeah. Initially, the beginning.
Did we have a problem in March?
It just renewed, so it just came back.
But it was done on March 27th.
Yeah, that was when we got. But it made.
But they only did.
It's probably because it expired and they realized it was expired and they said, oh, by the way, you need to. Yeah. So. On to the next item. So the IT contract is the next item on the agenda. So you guys were all here when we approved the IT contract with our Office Technologies, and it has been a very rocky road getting that established and up and running. They brought me a laptop that wasn't in all the specs that I had given them, and not even close. And I said, no, I'm not accepting that. Take it back and give me one that's on our contract, one that is spelled out specifically in our contract. So Jason has had issues with getting me released on the server. I think we're finally on the server.
Not completely.
Okay. So
They're working.
We have been on them for the last week. And Lacey can tell you a little bit more about the last week or two, because I basically said, we're severing the contract cause if you guys don't get into alignment. And so they did bring this computer that I had actually put in specifications and did load almost everything. Still don't have Adobe on it. But, you know, they failed to come and set it up in the office and make sure that they work correctly. They failed to make sure that everybody had their logins correct. They have failed to come back and look at our Outlook to make sure we're all assigned on Outlook like we should be. So there's been emails that I've been missing because they end up not coming in through my Outlook account. So we are working with them.
And though, I mean, they came and stole it. I mean, it was a pony show.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So I'd like them to come back and explain why they didn't live up to what they
Well, they got out that they also guaranteed that they were going to be responsive that 4 hours. That's the time frame that they can get back to us on the urgent situation.
That's not acceptable. That's not what they stood up.
That's exactly how I feel. I mean, look at how we can sever the contract if we need to.
Pretty ironclad. I did talk to the IT manager as well as one of the like office manager staffs. More or less, she kind of wrote it off as this is a learning curve. We're learning you guys are learning us. I wasn't okay with that either. The servers, like we're all set up on like network. There's 2 servers finally, and I think for the first time in a long time that we've had a PD server and a city servers. Like since we've got these guys, this is the first time that we actually have 2 servers. However, transferring the RPS, transferring all of that and getting a hold of them and getting logins and stuff like that. She said that it could take up to weeks is the answer that I got before. So before we're like in full compliance, we're still looking at weeks.
We have a $10,000 invoice.
So when was the contract effective? It was a spring one.
It was,
No, they did wait on us for a long time. This is why I'm kind of confused, because we have all the information at City Hall, and so we're like, hey, get stuff set up, get things going.
oh, it's not 2 months after. Then it's enough where they can come in and get stuff installed before they have it installed. So.
And
I'm
then,
serious, I'd like them to come back and explain. I would like to have a list of what they promised and what they've done, so we can say, here it is. They've done all these municipalities, no problems, we'll reply. Yes, we're all, right, let the contract get out.
Yeah, told the mayor, I'll take a look at it, we'll get to that.
I'll forward it to you. I've got it. Print it out, even.
I agree first.
It was a significant investment.
Yeah, it was a huge investment.
Everything.
And then, I mean, it is the bad that I emailed frankly with a screenshot of exactly what was requested by me.
I will.
I don't have that many specifications, but even after that, they still didn't get the right.
All of the server equipment that we have that's in, the supply room right now, that's all up for lease though. So I would, advise that if we do terminate the contract and go with another IT company, it still may take some time for another IT company to come in, set up a new network.
We may end up having to buy those servers outright and go with IT company, but I do think that we need to look at the cost benefit of this. We need to evaluate, and I think you're right, Archie, I think we need to have them back, we need to ask those very direct questions, because they need to answer that. And that's where I'm very unhappy, because when I called their IT person that was doing the install, and I said, I need to speak to your supervisor, and, the gentleman that gave me the guarantee, and he didn't have his number. And then Lacey finds out later, they don't give out that number because they want us to go through this call center, the help desk. And that's the only number they're willing to provide. But what he told me was, he didn't have his number. I'm like, how do you not have the number of the person who's directing you to do your job? So.
Was it the CEO that came?
Yep.
I mean.
Yeah.
When he came,
That's why we went with them. They
who
sold
talked
it.
to them? Who originally talked to them to bring them in?
Well, there were two things. I mean, we had,
I mean, you had to contact.
we had
them
Mr.
somehow.
Pruitt.
Okay.
Yeah, and Alfred is how we found them. So. And it was all coordinated through email, through contact,
They got 300 jobs.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Probably we're talking.
Oh, and I know this is not on the agenda, but I do want to update about, talking about contracts. The contractor that we hired to do the flooring at City Hall, the glue that they used to put the flooring down, for whatever reason, would not cure. And so we ended up having bubbling of glue. Before I had Shauna pay him, I said, they gotta come clean it up. They did. Okay. She wrote the check. And then all of a sudden we get more glue coming up through the cracks of this flooring being put in. So they are now, not to any cost to the city, coming back, and they had to come back and they had to literally pull the tile and evaluate why that glue wasn't curing. They're pulling all that tile and putting a different glue, and they're gonna fix all of it. So just so you know, that is under work right now.
Yeah.
So.
Russell. If they take and measure moisture from that floor before they put that floor in.
I can't answer that question, because they asked if that floor had, a moisture barrier, when it was built. I said, well, in the 1980s, and I said, I assumed that at the time they probably did use that in the 80s, which they were supposed to back then. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that this floor, this building was built in 1956, I think, and they use glue here, and it's not doing that. And so and this is a little different type of flooring, but it's not really our responsibility to make sure they got
work.
right product. Yeah, it is.
What happened?
And that's why they're.
And it's not necessarily the very. The concrete itself.
It's being fixed, John. So I think that,
when they
we're
put
good.
down my floor. They put moisture. Different cement. Because it's a higher moisture.
All right, so next item on the agenda is Brian's item G, non-employee access to City Hall.
So the reason I asked for this, there's been some concern brought to my attention, from City Hall of people being there during business hours, but not conducting business. It's disruptive to them being able to get their jobs done during the workday. That's one issue. And the other is non-city employees accessing City Hall when City Hall is closed, which is some additional concerns. Who has access and when. So I wanted to bring this to you all so that you all as a body can discuss what should be allowed, what should not, and hopefully put something in place that will address that.
Who is it that's coming in? Friends and coworkers?
No, it's council first. So city council is, I call it municipal league because city council is welcome to come into public areas, but they're not allowed to really come into private office space. So unless they're invited into a private office space, then they're not supposed to be in that area. And so if you're not a city employee with a reason to be in that employee space, then that's not a space that a council person should be in. So, and this is the issue. If the council person wants to come down and look through anything they want, absolutely make an appointment, come down. I'll meet you down there. One of the city staff will meet you down there. But just showing up and expecting that the city employees are going to stop their work and sit down and have a conversation, because that's not reasonable.
Or even more so that even if you do show up unannounced, if you say, hey, we're busy, we're in the middle of something right now, we can't meet with you, and you insist and more so make us meet with you, it becomes
inappropriate.
All places happening.
Regularly. And it's not appropriate for city council persons to go into City Hall when nobody's there, when City Hall is closed, and go into the building. And we will be changing the codes to the doors. So, and the only people that will have access to those codes are city employees. We want you guys to feel welcome to come into City Hall, but you need to respect that it's a work area. And that the people that are working have to get work done. And so they can't necessarily just stop what they're doing at any given time when you show up, just to stop and, discuss something you feel like might be important at that moment. They may be doing something very important that they need to get done, accomplished. And, they'd be happy to meet with you. Send them an email, call them, text them and say, hey, I need to meet with you. When's a good time to meet? And you guys can meet. But it's not appropriate for city council persons to just expect that they're going to show up and everything's going to get put on hold and we can sit down and have a conversation.
Well, I think it's for the city council, the city law.
I'll just say it's no different than Joe Blow citizen walking in who doesn't have any city business to be done, and it's just disruptive to the working that's in City Hall. So that's the issue. I think pretty cut on it.
This is ours. This needs to be addressed instead of appointment. That is
correct.
But, I've stopped by, say hello. I don't think you're talking about. I think there's something else going on that I don't know about. But I think that there's nothing wrong with that, no matter what time it is, because there's officers that work down there in occasionally.
Absolutely. There's public that come by and stop in and say hello, and we appreciate that,
But it sounds like
don't
you're saying disrupting the workforce. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It's more so that it's if the door is not answered, or if we come to the window, or or even if the door is answered, we're like, hey, we're busy right now, we've got a lot going on, come back later. And it's the insisting that no, it's gotta be right now. There was no mutual respect for the appointment, let's come back, let's, we've got stuff going on.
Or if you show up at City Hall and it's closed, it's, not okay to just go into City Hall and look around, walk around or.
On that issue, I think for a lot of reasons, only specific certain people could have that access to Grant City Hall. I think everybody thinks why.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's anything that you all necessarily need to do. The concern came to me. I thought it was worthy of discussion with you all. I think City Hall can probably put certain parameters in place. But I think they're wanting y'all support in enforcing that with no repercussion.
I think that where I'm struggling is like, I stop in and say hello, and yeah, they welcome me back. They might, they probably like me more than some other councilmen, just be honest, So you've got their own feelings that are getting in the way. They don't like
Well, but
Max. I don't,
no,
so.
but it may be that, they have time at the time and stuff, and then maybe they don't have time, and somebody else comes in. It should be respectful if they're, if they're busy doing something, they need to be allowed to continue with whatever they're
But I
doing.
mean, you see what I'm saying? You can't, as a councilman, go in and then just not get any answers from the city staff.
No, that's not what we're saying at all.
But completely agree with not going in just on your own.
But I think getting answers, city business related, culture, whatever approaches, set a time to come in and have it addressed so that they can devote that time for a conversation. If it's just to stop in and say hello, I don't think that's the issue.
Yeah.
There's also a difference between, hey, going in the lobby and talking to somebody, talking to a city employee, saying, hey, how you doing? How's your day? And basically going into the actual employee space and disrupting what they're doing. There's a big difference there.
Yeah, I think there.
If one of the employees comes out and says, hey, how you doing? Come on back. That's not an issue. The issue is when somebody goes in there and the other employees are busy doing something, they don't really have time to chat for 30 minutes or so. And that person insists that they get their answers.
So does anybody disagree with that? I mean, it's pretty cut and dry to me.
No, I don't. I feel like there's, city staff don't like certain council members. I mean, and I think that's probably what this is maybe stemming from. So I think that we've just got to be maybe clear that if you go down there, you don't walk in unless you're invited. And, but I do want to make sure that if you schedule an appointment that you're seeing and that you're.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It kind of stems along the same lines as Colton. It's like, let's say you see one of my guys on a traffic stop. And he's out there, his lights are on the whole 9 yards, and you want to stop and talk to him while he's trying to conduct a traffic stop.
Yeah.
It's along the same lines.
Probably hell.
I think it just comes down to that.
You were okay. You were just everything okay. I'm talking about somebody who wants to walk up and start a conversation while the office does their job.
Any other discussion? Public comment on that? All right. All right, reports, Alderman, City Attorney, Clerk Treasurer.
I don't think staff and a lot of good work on the budget. That was it's a big improvement. Pretty good budget. Also, Steve and all his officers, thank you for what you do.
Absolutely.
Anybody willing to join the budget? I mean, you're more than one of us.
Public input, comment, Eric?
I have two comments. My personal public comment. We have two openings now to the park that can drive a vehicle. And because I work with Cane Hill at times, there is a thing now about stealing black walnut trees. And particularly if you're a meth addict, they're selling them. Cutting areas, so we have pretty much black walnut.
Taking the tree and telling the tree?
Yeah.
If you can get a big on the tree, you can take that dude to the sawmill.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get banged.
Yeah. I do know.
I asked for gates on the road at the rental property. I don't know.
My tractor went to the shop today to get the front hydraulics for the new post driver that I bought. That drives 80,000 pounds of pressure per blow, so we can get some pipe driven.
I'm just saying, what? But if you think you're gonna make 20 grand, you're gonna get creative.
Yeah.
And being part of the art board, I'd like business to close that as much as possible.
Close the interest was.
Jason and I talked about that today.
And there's a lot of people don't realize it either, but Sean's neighborhood, we had a big issue with that when they first started doing it. Yeah.
Hey, Mary, before that, is there any value in putting some game cameras up?
We talked about. No, so Jason and I have already talked about both those things. So I actually said, I think we probably need to put up at least like 5 to 10 game cameras in the park. I have some for my private property. They work off a cellular signal. And so it'll feed back to a phone or a device and they can keep it on record all the time. And so we are going to put that in the budget for them to be able to utilize that for the park as well as the gates. As soon as my tractor gets back, I'm going to hook up that new poster. So
What do you do for emergency access then?
We have to,
You just have to.
Because there's not a way to armor them to keep.
I mean, it's technically an emergency. I mean, we've got a real big key. It's just.
Yeah.
Not
Got long
little education.
I'm glad you did. We've been meaning to get gates on that easement now since it went in. I mean, it's been all summer and all fall. And there's just not really been a good way for us to be able to drive any of that pipe. And I thought we could drive it maybe with my excavator, but it's just too far down over there and it's so rocky you can't drive the post. So I actually, for my personal, farm, bought a new post driver that's a pile driver. So it's about a $10,000 driver but I had to get hydraulics in the front of my tractor to be able to utilize it. So I literally took it today to Missouri to get that put on. So we'll use my tractor to do that and we'll get it done probably in the next month or so.
That Pan-Am will actually make it a lot easier for the guys to control the farm as well.
Yeah.
Annexation of Brian Crown's property, is that?
They have to submit some stuff. We've given them all the stuff. And I talked today, they just got to compile stuff to give it to the county. And then after they get clearance from the county, we can annex them if everybody's in agreement. So, yeah.
It would be a plus.
It would be a plus. And I think, if you guys don't know Brian and Dave Crown, they are wonderful people. They're great, great resources for our community. They own George's Majestic Lounge, and then Brian does all of the venue for the AMP. So he coordinates and brings in all the entertainment.
Where?
at the AMP. Their property, just past mine, just right over the creek there.
The whole Church Hill would make a great music festival.
Oh.
Wesley cleaned that park that had a whole bunch of crap in it.
They only live about, I don't know, maybe 200 feet on the dirt road, and then their driveway's paved. It's right there.
My question on the situation, when the board of zoning doesn't look at somebody or look at a variance like that, there's kind of
A variance, kind of variance.
any kind of zoning of variance, and I kind of.
But the annexation is not a zoning variance.
I realize,
So,
but my question is, why are you have so many people and ballroom?
well, this is contiguous land to the city. It joins the city limits now. So it's actually, so those are the things you have to look at. Part of the application process when you apply at the county is your land in contiguous adjoining of the city property. And if they want to annex in, then the city has to accept the annexation. But then they have to also apply at the county to be able to basically say, I want it to be annexed into the city of Goshen. So that's where they have to go through that process in their part and then bring that to us. So that's why, and Day and Brian have talked to me about this for the last time, it's probably been about 6 months ago. But they just have to get their stuff finished, and then once they bring it, then you guys would have to decide whether you want to annex it or not. So, but their property adjoins the city's current property line.
There's a lot of other people on Goshen Hill that actually really like the meeting that in the city, but the problem that they have is they're not continuous, and the people on the other side of them that are between them don't.
Don't want to be annexed, yeah. That, yeah, and that is a clarification, is that if your land butts up against the city and you want to be annexed in, then you can go through the same process, and then the city would have to accept it if they want to. And then they would have to get released from the county as well, so.
To the point that we have some people, when they call, if they have an issue, they actually call someone and ask for us to respond with this and they'll get their best.
Right. Makes sense.
Any other public comment or any other business before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion to adjourn by Birch and second by Fulton. We are adjourned. Yeah.